Hopping from one rooftop to another, Kirishima matched the movements of the villain, keeping pace with them in the chase. You caught up to them on the streets below, keeping a loose eye on Kirishima's movements through the gaps of the alleys. This was a good strategy to round off the villain when there were no more rooftops to hop across onto. However, suddenly, a deep rumble reverberated around you, the epicenter stationed above where Kirishima had been on the chase. You turned towards the rooftops only to not find Kirishima hop onto the next building, halting yourself in your tracks.
Kirishima?
You cried, retracing your steps back to the last moment you spotted him and rushed up the fire escape onto the rooftops. You climbed over to only find Kirishima's hero outfit laying haphazardly, engulfing what looked to be a child. Or what Kirishima was reduced to.
What the...
The small bundle hiding within the large pants of Red Riot's outfit tossed and turned a bit before his head peeked out, his cherub-like cheeks pouting. You turned your head towards the direction the villain May had escaped to. Needless to say, you spotted their fleeting form hop from one building to the next before they slowly disappeared into the distance. Your feet shifted, ready to give chase before the sound of a small whimper caught your ear.
Stay.
You stopped, turning back to Kirishima with his small hands rubbing his bright red eyes, tears threatening to fall from them while his lips held back a sob. Your shoulders relaxed when you saw the look on his face, an innocent sadness washing over him. You sighed with a small smile, kneeling down towards him and covering him up in his hero costume. You patted his head reassuringly.
Oh, I will,
you replied with a smile. Your eyes trailed back to where the villain was escaping before the touch of small hands held onto yours, refusing to let you go. Kirishima held onto your fingers, pushing its cheeks into your palm.
Oh, I guess we should head home, huh?
You murmured before you picked him up in your arms, loosely wrapped in his hero costume. You felt his hands grip onto your clothes and his face buried into the crook of your neck. You smiled to yourself, wondering how someone who was all about confidence suddenly felt like a small bundle of nerves. Making your way home with Kirishima in your arms, you attempted to put him down onto the couch, but he refused to let go of you. Every attempt you've tried to separate from him was all for naught. He would immediately grip onto any part of you to stay in your arms. If anything, changing him into another piece of clothing was a struggle in itself. You sighed exasperatedly, giving up on the venture, still with Kirishima in your arms amongst his hero costume.
Wow, you're really clingy,
you murmured.
How am I able to do anything if you don't let go of me?
You spotted a slight, angry pout on his face, while he swung his tiny fists into your shoulder.
No!
He cried.
I stay with you! Hey!
You responded as you tried to flinch your shoulder away from his fists. Well, as best as you could, considering you were still holding him in your arms.
Stop that! Kirishima! Ow! Or I'll put you in the bath sooner than later!
You laughed in between your retort, only to have felt his fists suddenly stop. Your smile faltered as you turned to him, his eyes downcast with what looked like embarrassment.
Hey, wait. I was joking. Can we go together?
Your body froze at his request, as you felt a hot flush in your cheeks and a rush through the back of your neck. Was he serious? Did he just ask you to join him for a bath? Well, he was a toddler, you thought, Maybe he wasn't thinking as himself, but as a child would. A nervousness bubbled in your stomach before you laughed. He did really need a bath after everything that happened today.
How about you have a bath and I stay with you outside of the bathtub?
You tried to reiterate the request, but his pouting lips returned while his fists punched you again.
No! No bath!
You flinched at every little tiny punch he threw before you turned to him, your voice stern.
Alright, bath time now!
It took a while for you to set the bath while Kirishima made every effort to stay on you like glue. Luckily for you, he was still wrapped in his hero costume, so it made things easier to set him down in the now filled bathtub. The problem was, he had none of it. He would grip onto your clothes or onto your skin, refusing any means to enter the warm bath. You grunted with every attempt, but for a toddler you discovered Kirishima was as strong as he looked. You exhaled deeply, still with a little Kirishima in your arms. You could tell the gel in his hair was starting to lose its form, possibly from all the shuffling you had to go through to try to pry him off of you. Your exhausted eyes turned to Kirishima's bright ones, eyeing a slight curiosity in them before you relented.
Oh, fine. I'll join you in the bath. Hey!
Kirishima cried with joy, his little sharp teeth showing in his bright smile. Your lips quirked into a small smile as you readied yourself to step into the bath together with him. Of course, you kept your clothes on while you unclothed Kirishima from his hero costume and into the bathtub. It was then that Kirishima finally released you, smiling broadly and playing around with the foam that floated in the warm water. Thank goodness you added some bubble bath mixture you had lying around. Not only did it entertain the little toddler version of the hero, but it helped disguise anything while you started rubbing into his scalp, washing his hair of any product he had. He playfully splashed around, getting you soaked from head to toe, before it was time for him to exit the bath and dry off, locating a large oversized shirt you had lying around. Eventually, Kirishima's somewhat separation anxiety had waned as you watched him sitting on the couch watching television, his red hair now deflated atop his head. You smiled at the look in his attentive eyes. It wasn't often you would see him without the hair get-up, and it looked rather cute on him. After cleaning yourself off from the bath fiasco, you joined Kirishima on the couch, only to see his eyes start to close. He tried his best to keep them open, only to continue to nod off every now and then. It wasn't long until he laid his head on your lap, nuzzling into your leg, and falling asleep.
Yeah, I agree,
you whispered, laying your hand atop his head and ruffling his matted hair.
You've got the right idea.
A yawn escaped your lips as you stretched your limbs, causing Kirishima to shift and turn his face towards you, nuzzling into your abdomen now. You shut your eyes, resting a hand on his back, before you too drifted to sleep yourself.
We'll figure this quirk out tomorrow.
You woke up to a sore neck and no longer sitting on the couch, but laying across it with a heavy weight pressed against you. Rubbing the back of your neck where you felt the stiff pinch, you peered through your heavy eyelids to find a mop of red hair in view, resting upon your chest. The thought crossed your mind that it was indeed Kirishima whom slept on your lap before you drifted, but the weight on the rest of your body just didn't feel right if he was a toddler. That is, if he was a toddler. Your eyes shot open upon realizing that a sleepy Kirishima now fully grown back to his usual size and correct age, laid upon you with his strong arms wrapped loosely around your torso while using your chest as a pillow. You also noticed that the shirt you had given him now fit tightly around his frame, and only his top frame. Your eyes darted around the room and yourself, seeing if you were able to slip through his grip without disturbing him. Carefully, you twisted your body and was almost free of his sleeping form until his large arm encircled you and pulled you in closer, your back against his chest as he breathed deeply, his face nuzzling into the back of your shoulder.
Just a few more minutes.
He mumbled as you felt his voice tickle your skin and his arms tighten around you. He drifted in and out of sleep.
I had so much fun yesterday. I don't want to leave.
Wait. You remember everything yesterday?
You asked while he nuzzled into you further.
Yeah.
He lazily responded.
I'm sorry.
You turned your ear towards him, perplexed from the sudden apology.
I'll do better next time.
A smile crossed your lips, wondering if he was talking about the chase yesterday, before you reassuringly rubbed your hands against his arms. His fingers gripped tightly around your form, much like he did when he was a toddler, and soon after you felt the gentle press of his lips against the crook of your neck. The sound of explosions echoed through the street as Bakugou flew towards the villain at a speed you couldn't match. As best as your legs allowed, you tried to keep pace, but his explosive bursts barreled himself towards the villain on the run to the point that all you could see was a trail of smoke in his wake. The villain maneuvered through the street with ease, hurdling themselves over obstacle after obstacle, causing Bakugou to push himself further to reach them. With another large burst, Bakugou flew, outstretching his arms towards the villain.
Gotcha, you son of a...
The sound of a deep, thunderous rumble hit your ears, momentarily stopping you in your tracks before you recomposed yourself. Shaking your head, you spotted a plume of smoke ahead, but the sound of Bakugou's boisterous yell disappeared.
Bakugou?
You yelled as you ran towards the smoke. It wasn't difficult considering the trail he left behind, but as soon as you reached the site of impact, no one was around. You coughed from the smell of smoke around you, waving it away to ease your breathing.
Bakugou! Where are you?
You called as you tried to look through the smog. It quickly dissipated after a minute or two before you spotted what looked to be Bakugou's costume. And... a child? Bakugou?
Yeah?
He squeaked, his red eyes peering up at you through the drapes of his clothes. You stared at this little form for a while before you scanned the area, finding no trace of the villain whatsoever.
Well, that explains their quirk,
you mumbled before turning to the toddler before you.
I can't believe how tiny you are. I'm not!
He cried after overhearing your comment. Even at this age, he still had those angry eyes, causing you to chuckle.
You know, you're actually kinda cute like this,
you commented with a smirk.
No!
He yelled.
I'm not cute!
You watched as he tried to stand, only to fumble on his hero costume, almost drowning in the fabric. You couldn't help but laugh, only to stop when tiny tears pricked his eyes. Oh, I'm so sorry. You apologized before kneeling down to him. Maybe we should head back home or else people will start to notice. You quickly picked him up with his hero costume without a word, receiving some choice words from the toddler before anyone in the public spotted either of you roaming about. Returning home was an experience. Bakugou would constantly try to push you away even though you were faster on foot than he was in this state, and would speak loudly, causing you to dodge out of any form of earshot out in public. Eventually his persistent rebelling ceased as he reluctantly laid his head upon your shoulder, probably tired from all the energy he was exerting, you thought. Once at home, you looked around to figure out what to do, looking down at the toddler sitting on your couch still engulfed in his hero costume. You watched as he started playing around with his mask, trying to wrap it around his head despite how large it was. A giggle almost escaped your lips before Bakugou turned to you with a sneer, causing you to cough to mask it instead. I'll grab you something to wear. You try to put that on, you suggested, walking away from him towards a set of drawers in your bedroom to search for an item of clothing for his size. You hardly would have anything small enough and opted to find something that at least would fit his frame. As you returned to the living area, you found his hero costume draped over the couch, but he was gone. Bakugou? You called, looking around the room. Bakugou? Your heart slowly started to race in your chest. How could you lose a kid in that short amount of time? Still holding on to the large shirt, you frantically searched the entire living space, looking through every small nook and cranny you could think a child his size could hide in. This isn't funny! You yelled. After the living room, you ran towards the kitchen area for a look. The last thing you wanted was a child running around with anything that came from there. Searching high and low, you walked past the pantry, only for the door to swing open. Ah! The bellow of Bakugou's tiny voice taking you by surprise. You clutched onto your chest, leaning against the wall from the fright, while the toddler chuckled haughtily.
Ha 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 ha! You can't defeat me!
Bakugou cried. Turning to face him, you found that he somehow managed to fix the mask on his face, at least for one eye due to its size, and somehow located some loose fabrics to create a makeshift costume of his own. It would have looked ridiculous if not for the pounding heart in your chest from his scare.
Don't do that!
You yelled back at him, angry, worried, and yet relieved to have found him.
You don't tell me what to do, villain!
He retorted, pointing a finger up at you.
I, the great Katsuki Bakugou, will beat you!
Somehow throughout the entire fiasco, you realized that despite his attitude, he was playing. He wanted to play. It was almost cute. You smirked at him as you took a deep breath, shrugging your shoulders. Well, now it isn't fair for a hero to declare war when the villain themselves are not at their full potential, right? You questioned, causing Bakugou to eye you suspiciously, yet curious. How else would you know if you are fairly matched, fair hero? Bakugou pouted at you before he demanded.
Fine!
You laughed at how he was playing his role extremely well. Almost too well. It reminded you of his usual self. In a way. Hours had passed with Bakugou playing hero while you chased him around and painted different scenarios for him as the ultimate villain bent on world domination. It felt nice seeing this playful side of him, and it made you wonder that he had a fountain of energy at his disposal. Because eventually, You couldn't keep up. You laid on your bed, exhausted, wrapped in different fabrics and clothes as a makeshift costume for you as the villain, while Bakugou tried to tie one of your wrists, pretending they were handcuffs to arrest you for your crimes. You watched through your exhaustion how he concentrated so hard to try and at least tie a knot.
I could have gotten away with it too,
you mumbled, lazily waving your wrists, pretending you were trying to pull away from his grasp. Any energy you had left was depleted before Bakugou made a loose knot on your wrist and attached it to his as well. He chuckled at his victory, proclaiming himself as the best hero to walk the streets. It only brought a smile to your face. Suddenly, a little yawn escaped from Bakugou's lips, catching your attention, his hand covering his mouth while also pulling your hand up with it.
Tired?
You asked.
No. No, I'm not.
You couldn't help but giggle at his refusal despite what his body was telling him to do.
Come on, fair hero.
You coaxed as you propped yourself up from the bed to shift more comfortably towards the pillows.
Even you need sleep, or else the villains will escape when you least suspect it. No, I keep you.
He yawned again, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. You raised your wrist, showing him the loose knot he wrapped around it.
I'm sure you've trapped me for good,
you reassured.
If I try to escape, you'll know.
Bakugou pouted at your reasoning, but didn't resist the urge to lay on the pillows with you, his one eye through his mask still on you. You watched as it slowly closed when he grew comfortable on the plush pillows, his breathing slowing to sleep. You began to drift yourself, wondering how long the effects of the quirk would last. Seeing how much energy you needed to look after Bakugou, you were sure you wouldn't be able to last another day doing so. Soon your eyes closed, seeing that peace had returned in your home, no longer filled with the boisterous energy that was Bakugou.
Good night, fair hero.
You felt the early morning light enter your windows. Not yet sunlight, but dawn had already passed. Your head shifted on your pillows, feeling their plush softness against your skin before you turned in bed, your fingers brushing against a hand next to you. Despite how tired you felt, your thoughts crossed your mind knowing that you were still bound to the little toddler from last night. Except your fingers brushed against a hand much larger than yours, before their fingers gently intertwined with yours. Your brows furrowed while you wondered and thought, waking up from your sleeping stupor to find Bakugou next to you, now fully grown, peaceful in slumber. A moment passed before your eyes widened, first in relief, and then in panic. His mask was haphazardly still around his head but slipped up to his forehead instead, and his makeshift hero costume, well, draped over parts of his body. You attempted to keep your eyes on Bakugou's sleeping form, also realizing that with your fingers in his that you couldn't easily just slip out of bed. This didn't deter you though. You loosely released your fingers from his and slowly pulled your hand away. But with a small tug of the knot still around your wrist, you suddenly felt his large hand grab a hold of yours, keeping you close. A low growl escaped his throat, while his eyes slowly opened, peering at you. Your eyes darted towards the pillow as a means to look away from his gaze before you felt his hand pull yours up towards your faces.
You're right.
He spoke with a lazy grin.
I would know if you'd escape.
He pulled you in closer, pushing your face into the crook of his neck as he held you in his arms and placed your entrapped hand against his chest. Bakugou hummed as you felt the reverb of his voice against your skin, feeling his contentment in simply laying beside you.